Okay, welcome back to Infinite Investors, the home for all new and non-investors. In my last video, the 2020 vision, I talked about the dip pillar, and in the dip pillar, I said that I'm going to try and have 50% of my portfolio basically focused on tech stocks or growth ETFs. So I have started the hunt looking for tech stocks, and these are 17 tech stocks that I've now shortlisted to potentially feature within my 2020 portfolio. So if you want to know more, please like, please comment, please subscribe, help the channel get to 3,000 subscribers so we can get the world of investing out to more people in a clear, simple and transparent manner. First, let's get into the list of stocks. We've got Alphabet, Amazon, Box, iRobot, Nvidia, Okta, PayPal, Qualcomm, Salesforce, Square, Tesla, Apple, Zoom, Uber, Atlassian, Autodesk and Splunk. Now this is just to start with. I've only started looking, but what I'm basically doing at this current moment is testing out my new criteria with tech stocks and actually seeing, do loads fit my criteria? Does only one or two fit my criteria? Maybe my criteria is a bit too aggressive. Do I need to tweak it? That kind of thing. And basically, you guys know my criteria was 40% future performance. I want to see a decline in debt, or at least plateau in debt with, rise in net cash flow. And then I want to see a good past performance that's better than the sector and not better than the market that it sits within, which in this context is all the US market. So at the moment, let's just start from 40% future performance based off however many analysts. We've only got Square, Tesla, Uber, Atlassian and Autodesk that's predicted to have a higher than a 40% growth. Now obviously this is just forecasts and predictions. Quite simply, Box could easily have 40% next year, but obviously you can only go based off the data that's in front of you. Then when I look at, okay, of those five that have a declining or plateauing debt, the only one at the moment is Tesla that has that. Now, in terms of past performance, Tesla doesn't meet the past performance criteria, but we all know that Tesla had a very, very bad year at the beginning and then, a very great end to the year. So, it's very, very, very probable that, Tesla's future performance and might not even be as high because they've had such a high growth, and actually their past performance isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that's probably the lighter of the three criterias that I'm looking at. But looking at this, it's basically nothing has really fully matched the criteria going forward. So for me, that tells me one thing, that I really need to kind of look into different elements of the criteria. And I think when it comes to things like past performance, I probably have to take it a little bit of a pinch of salt. I can't always look for a spectacular past performance, and also spectacular past performance might not even be something to be looking for anyway. As you all know, the quote, past performance isn't always an indicator of true future performance, but I think it's a good thing to potentially look at when I'm looking at growth stocks, because if they're fully always declining, then actually there might be a trend, and you could just be buying into a year where it's going to just magnify the declines and gains. When you look at something like Okta at the moment, 82.1% in terms of its past performance, the other way to look at it is, can it sustain that level of growth? So that is a question that I'll be asking myself anyway. But as you guys know, this is the step that I take to just basically filter stocks. There's obviously 85,000 stocks in the world. I don't know how many of them are high growth tech stocks. However, I have to have an initial filtration process, so to speak. This is like the Brita filter of stocks, basically, just so that the ones that come through at the end I can basically look more into. So what I'm basically going to do now, I haven't actually deduced from any of these stocks which ones I absolutely want to invest in, and actually any that I absolutely don't want to invest in. Luckily, there's nothing on this list I absolutely don't want to invest in. But one thing I really wanted to bring your attention to is that there are three stocks here that aren't on free trade. So the question becomes, how did I find out about these three stocks? Now, some of them I know just because of, I know these companies already. But one thing is to always show you, which is, really good about Simply Wall Street, is that when you are basically looking at stocks, it will tell you some other similar companies in your area to the stock that you're basically holding. So Splunk was a similar company, and I know Splunk from work, and I also know Atlassian, and then obviously I'm able to go into that and actually see, all right, you know what, let's see what's going on with this stock. 1 year return last year, 47.6. It beat the US software sector, and obviously it beat the US market. So that was one of the criteria where it's done, really, really well against that criteria. When I look at the future growth, it's smashing the future growth criteria as well. which is really good. The only thing is when I look at the debt specifically for this one, if I can go and find it, the debt situation is started to rise with the net worth equity starting to have a little bit of a fluctuation. So this, I wouldn't make a sole decision based off this, but it is definitely something I would look further into. You know, I've got loads of companies with debt, and you know they still perform well from a return standpoint, so you know it's something to look into. But at least with the other two criteria, particularly future growth being the real important one for me, it's quite high from that standpoint. But the issue is this stock isn't on free trade, so I always get the question, are you going to invest in your ISA, are you going to invest in your basic account, are you going to invest with Robinhood or go to another platform? And this is just the type of a scenario where if I find a stock where I'm comfortable with the stock and I know the company and it's not available on free trade, then of course I'm going to have to use Robinhood or another provider to basically, you know, get, most likely Robinhood. If Robinhood doesn't have this and free trade doesn't have it, then I probably will not get a third or a fourth provider, just because I think that's overkill. But this is an example scenario whereby if this isn't going to make a feature in free trade in the next few months, and I want to get into this stock for 2020, let's say in January, and Robinhood comes out and you know I'm on there and I see the stock, then you know this won't obviously be in my ISA, and this will be another growth stock that I'll buy outside of the ISA. So that's something just to bear in mind. But yeah, those are the stocks I'm currently looking at, and I will basically do a lot more digging. Let me know if you hold any of these stocks. I know some of you lot hold Tesla and a few others. Let me know if any of you guys are, you know, looking at any of these stocks or were previously looking, and what your thoughts and feelings are about that. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. If there was one stock at the moment out of these that I'm like, you know what, it's looking appealing to me, I would actually say, weirdly, Salesforce is one of them. I think Salesforce is a as a CRM provider, as a platform, I think they've just got a lot of opportunity to grow, personally, and I would actually trust that they would grow at a steady and a moderate good level, and it wouldn't be sort of a pump and dump type of situation. They haven't performed past better than their sector, which is interesting to see, but obviously that doesn't mean that they're not going to perform well in the future. So Salesforce is one. I'm not going to lie, guys, I've started looking at Uber as well. And Uber is something that I said, you know what, I never think I would invest in. But you know what, I'm actually looking at their business model. I'm looking at their plans going forward. I'm looking at some of their other business lines like freights, etc. And I think there's potentially an opportunity, but it is a bit of a punt. It is a bit of a punt. Maybe Tesla spun me, who knows? But that, I'm looking at Uber, I'm looking at Salesforce, and there's a few others on this list that I'm definitely looking at as well. Yeah, there's a few others on this list I'm looking at. So yeah, I will keep you guys posted in terms of what stocks that obviously I'm going to add to the portfolio. This is what I'm looking at the moment. I'm going to keep exploring, and yeah, hopefully you guys have a good 2020 and you find some good stocks for your portfolio as well. Other than that, have a good evening. I'm sorry if you can hear the cold. It's just cold and freezing out there, and I've got a cold. So yeah, I'm going to try and drink some chamomile tea and just shake that off. But yeah, have a good evening, and I'll speak to you next time with another investment video. Peace.